We'd like to welcome everybody out to Surprise We Both Love Movies. In this episode, we're going to be reviewing a brand new movie that is streaming exclusively on Netflix called I, Caroline, which stars Rosamund Pike, we got Peter Dinklage, and Diane Wiest. I saw the trailer for this a few months ago, and I said, I got to check this movie out. It looked very interesting, and the movie was interesting. And what this is it's about a woman who's very empowered as a woman. You find out she hasn't taken crap in her adult life, and she's a goal-oriented person going out, and she's ripping people off. And I'm going to do some research on this because I want to know if what happens in the film could really happen. It's terrifying what happens.
And,
Britney
Spears.
Well, yeah. But that's a whole nother story. But in the film, what she does is she works with these doctors to find these elderly, and they have money, and she works with them to make them wards of the state. So they have to go into these care facilities, even though they may not be sick enough or have to go into these care facilities. And when they go in there, they're stripped of their phones, their communication with the outside world. They're basically left prisoners, and they're drugged. And then what she does is she takes the homes, all of their personal belongings, sells it off, and she lives off of the money that she makes. And in the film, she ends up taking on the wrong person. And this person is not who they seem to be. And basically this woman's family gets involved, and it's a back and forth of a power grab between her family and what she's trying to accomplish in the movie. What did you think of this movie? I've got some very strong feelings on it, but I want to see what you thought of the film.
I have some very strong feelings as well. So when you open up the movie, there's a monologue voiceover where Rosamund Pike's character is basically goes on and on about there's lions and there's lambs, and that she refuses to be a lamb. She's a lion. She doesn't like being poor. She's going to do what she has to do to be a lioness. And that, in essence, is kind of the theme of the movie. But where this movie goes totally, and this is a hard movie to review without revealing too much to you guys.
Right.
But where this movie goes off the rails at some point, we'll say like at about the halfway point, this movie loses its identity and becomes bipolar for me. I tried to enjoy it and try to look at it. It tries to go from, and we'll explain this in more detail as learn about the differences between movies and films. It goes from trying to be a movie, a very good movie, the first half, and then tries to become a film the second half. And for me,
I don't agree with that, but I'll explain why.
It didn't work. And it's really similar to The White Tiger, which was on Netflix. It's got the same themes, the same kind of story, but it just is presented in a way that doesn't work and that doesn't allow me to find a protagonist that I can relate to and enjoy the story with, or an antagonist that makes me hate you and want to see you destroyed. And so to me, this movie had an identity crisis. What'd you think?
Here's what I loved about the movie. The first hour was completely predictable, but was thoroughly enjoyable.
Thoroughly enjoyable. I agree.
The sense of panic that you get in the first half an hour is incredible. It's incredible. And you start to panic as you go through this because you think, oh my gosh, if I was put in this situation, what would you do? How do you get out of it?
Right.
And then in the second half is where things start to go off the rails. Okay. So I knew going into this, because of how predictable the first half, that it was going to be the ending that was either going to make or break the film. Mm-hmm. And about 3/4 in, there were certain events. There was a car event. I'm not going to say what happens, but there's a car event that is totally unbelievable.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
If you've seen Mythbusters, you would know that certain things couldn't happen the way they happen in the film. It's impossible.
Right.
There's something that has to do with one of her teeth in the film that never gets, like, they put all this emphasis on her tooth, and then you're like, what the heck did that have to do with the movie at all?
Right.
There were these weird things that happened, and then how it resolves itself in the end just would not resolve itself like that in real life. The movie in the second half became outlandish, is what I would say. It went from a grounded, predictable story to what the heck am I watching? Like, what? It went into a gear where they didn't think out the storyline well enough to stick the landing.
Yes.
But it does make you think. The very last shot, I thought the very last scene was really well done. I think the point of this movie, the overall story arc, and what the point is,
good luck.
Well, it's that you can't, no matter what you do or what you achieve in life, you can't take it with you. There are certain people, there are certain things that can happen in your life that can change things in an instant.
Sure.
And I think in the movie that she represented corporate America. The guy at the beginning who goes into the care facility and goes crazy represents Americans, average everyday Americans, and trying to fight against the system.
Now, here's what I thought. And then I can see where you're going with that. And to kind of go off a little bit, to me, I would say the movie represented capitalism.
I wouldn't say capitalism.
And how that, you know, if you want something, you have to really go for it and, you know, take no prisoners approach. And what happens when you see that all the way through? You know, we all want to be go-getters. We all want to, you know, accomplish things and take care of our families and have extra money to enjoy our lives. But at what cost does that come to you morally, personally, financially? Yes. And I think it encompasses that there is, you know, there's a bad side to every ism. And I think that this movie maybe was trying to expose what the worst of capitalism and the best of capitalism can bring. And I think the first half and the second half was maybe two sides of that coin.
I wouldn't use the word capitalism in there. I wouldn't say that's it. I would just say corporate America in general. It's just when these companies get big enough. I mean, she was morally corrupt from the beginning.
Right.
I mean, there was no question about it. And she admits, I lied, I cheated, I did everything I had to get to where I am. And she admits doing things the right way isn't going to get you anywhere.
Right. And it was just like the White Tiger, but the feeling I felt about the characters were completely
they're totally different. Film.
Right. Right. You know, it's coming from someone who has very little to coming to have something more. And this movie is someone who already has something and wants more. So it was very, you know, there was a duality and a distancing that financial situation created for me in having empathy for that character or for hating that character at the same time. So it was very, you know, unconventional, you know.
What was your score on this one?
For me, as a movie, if I could just take the first half was like an 8 as a movie, all right? It started out really, really good. So, but for the whole totality of the movie, it was a 6 for me as a movie because of what happened halfway through it. And then for a film, it's unclear.
Right.
I mean, I completely understand your perspective. I think you understand mine. Maybe that's what they were trying to say. And that's with some serious, like, kind of thought that I'd put into it after hearing you and thinking about what it could be. So for me, it missed. For me, it was a 6 as a film too, just because it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Did it want to be a movie or did it want to be a film? So 6 on both sides. What about for you?
I really wanted to love this movie because, you know, the performances were there. The best part of this movie were the performances.
Oh yeah.
Rosamund Pike, she plays these characters quite well. You know, she did it in Gone Girl. She did it again here. It's what she does best. Peter Dinklage was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he really stood out in the movie. And then Diane Wiest, man, she has some scenes that are just, oh my gosh. Yeah.
She was great.
Great stuff. So the acting is the best part. So as a movie, I give this a 7.
Okay.
So a little bit higher than what you gave, but not much because they couldn't stick the landing. I just really wish they would have been able to stick the landing. As a film, I gave it the same score as you because it wasn't a clear 5 straight down the middle. It was a little bit more than that, but it wasn't a clear 7 or an 8. So we're pretty close on that one.
Well, that's all we have for you guys for this week. Thank you guys for following us on Facebook, YouTube, and subscribe to us on Spotify and the iTunes podcast store. We look forward to showing you guys some new movies next week. But for now, I'm Lamont Lovejoy.
I'm Aaron Fisher.
And we'll see you guys next week.